Hello, Telvani here, and I wanted to do a follow-up video to my last map science test, Crimson Ambush. This video isn't really meant to be a standalone, as it builds upon the findings of the previous video, so if you haven't seen that one yet, I'd recommend checking it out. Alright, so after running the last 40 Crimson Temples, I wanted to optimize the strategy a little further, so I decided to run 32 more Crimson Temples, with an altered version of my Crimson Ambush strategy. Alright, so what did I change this time around? Well, I felt like the Cartography Scarabs were kind of a waste of a fragment slot, so I went ahead and dropped those. I also felt that while Harvest was reasonably profitable for the amount of effort, it didn't really add that much profit per map. So for this test, I've spec'd out of the Harvest nodes on the tree, and this meant we had a few more points to play around with. So I decided to grab Harbinger nodes, as well as a polished Harbinger Scarab, to replace the aforementioned Cartography Scarabs. My thought process was that it would add a lot of monsters to our maps, and they generally wouldn't take too long to kill. For this test, I've also decided to squeeze in a little bit of Magic Find, so I went out and got an extra 30% quantity on my gear. Let's go ahead and take a look at the loot from these 32 maps in-game very quickly. We got some Harvest Life Force here, as I didn't block Harvest entirely. I'm just no longer investing passives on the tree. As a result, we got a little less than last time. Delirium didn't drop much as we weren't investing into it. Essences were pretty profitable as usual. Same goes for Scarabs. And Eldritch Currency was pretty profitable. We even got a little lucky here actually, pulling in 2 Eldritch Exalts. Heist fared a little bit better than in the last test, and this is just due to the fact that we had a few more Deception and Perception contracts drop. However, we didn't have any valuable blueprints drop, so it could have been even better. Alright. For general loot and maps, we had less maps dropping due to the fact that we were no longer running Cartography Scarabs. However, we had a lot more raw Chaos drop thanks to our Harbingers. And down here you can see we had a fair number of Annuls, Exalts, and Ancient Orbs as well. And I think we got pretty lucky with Divine drops compared to last time, although I found another Pantheon-touched Essence monster, and this time around I was actually able to kill it. So we did end up getting an extra Divine from that. Up here you can see our Divination cards that dropped. No Apothecaries, but I do think we got a little luckier than in our last test, pulling in 3 copies of 7 Years Bad Luck, and a Dragon's Heart. We also had a random Patient drop from one of our Divination Strongboxes, or maybe an Eldritch Minion, I'm not exactly sure. But the luck here with the Divination cards was somewhat balanced out by the fact that I came across 0 improved trials in this test, so we don't have any Gifts of the Goddess to report here. Moving on to our excluded loot, it is the usual stuff. Essences that we weren't able to upgrade to Deafening, as well as junk Divination cards and contracts. I'm actually considering making my filter a little stricter when it comes to Divination cards, as a lot of these are essentially worthless. Finally, this time around we didn't actually have any crazy big drops like the Aegis Aurora from last time, so nothing really noteworthy in our exclusions here. Taking a look at our spreadsheet, you can see that the distribution of loot is pretty similar to last time, with the only big difference being that the general loot had a little bit more in it, thanks to all the currency drops from Harbingers, and maps on the other hand contributed less value to our test, as we were no longer running Cartography Scarabs. So was it worth it to drop Harvest nodes for Harbinger nodes, and Cartography Scarabs for Harbinger Scarabs? Well, you can see here that I estimated Harbingers probably added around 200 Chaos worth of drops to this 32 map test, which means we ended up profiting around 4.2 Chaos per map from Harbingers. While Harvest profits are down from 4.2 Chaos to 2.4 Chaos per map, and we lost the 0.6 Chaos profit per map from Cartography Scarabs. All of which means that the changes made here probably weren't really that big of an improvement, as we're looking at around 2 Chaos profit increase per map from making this change. Additionally, because we did add Harbingers, we were slowing down much more often during our maps, adding about 40 seconds on average to every single map. And while it looks like this strategy was much better than last time around, as we made 71 Chaos profit per map, you'll need to keep in mind that I was also running 30% increased quantity on gear in this test, which I didn't have in the last test. So ultimately, I think Harbingers were a wash versus Harvest. And I'd probably recommend dropping them entirely for a Sacrificial Fragment instead. However, if you were to add a Delirium Mirror to your map, that would change things quite significantly. as the consistency of extra monsters from Harbinger would certainly increase your profits per map further than what's shown here. And I think this is something I may take a look at in a future test here. Anyway, thank you for watching, good luck with your league, and I'll see you in the next one.